Hello the internet, welcome back to another video. Today is going to be another part of the Moon Eagle Academy series where I'm going to be talking about topics, maybe doing a little bit of how-tos, and more informational rather than sending energy or trying to do little mini healings or samples of my work. And today what I wanted to speak about and maybe do a little instruction on is sacred space. So a lot of focus is given on sacred space in many different traditions, and there are various reasons for this. It is to sort of separate our everyday activities from what we consider the sacred, or perhaps when we're trying to focus our energies or create a specific effect. Whether that's via spell work and thaumaturgy, or if we're doing more liturgical processes, praying, worship, or trying to get in touch with guidance and sort of a higher power. And there's actually been some studies done on sacred sites. They do have a particular energy signature. There is, I believe that there's a frequency they call negative green that is present in a lot of sacred sites where many healings have taken place. There's also, physics experience where people have done what they call conditioned spaces, meaning they have performed a series of operations in that space, and over time that sort of accrues in the subtle energy of the space, and it actually alters the way that physics operates in that space. Like minor subtle differences, but differences nonetheless. And that's all from, continued consistent effort and intention. And so if you've ever walked into a temple, church or other place of worship, a sacred grove, a sacred mound, sites where many ceremonies or religious rites have been performed, there can be a very palpable sense of differentness, of otherness, of a touch of the spirit. Whereas, just walking around our normal everyday, we might not see that. Now, some people, they find nature as a sacred space. When you're doing any kind of work, whether that's divination, like doing a reading for someone, or doing healing work on someone, or you're trying to manifest something, it's really important to establish sacred space, to sort of draw a barrier around yourself and the area that you're working in. And you're also setting the rules. What kind of energies are allowed to be in the space? What kind of energies are not allowed in the space? And that's very important so that you can really concentrate what you're doing, but also, kind of keep it clean. It's sort of like, we're trying to keep it clean here. Just like when we're cooking, we make sure that we wipe off the counters, we do all the things to keep a healthy environment. And what we're doing with sacred space is we're doing that in an energetic level. So it's really, really important. One of the first things, like I'm in my office right now, this is a conditioned space. I consistently do ceremony in here. I consistently open sacred space in a variety of ways. Every time I come in, I smudge the office. That is part of my ritual to start to get the energy flowing. So, I'll do something like this, Got some Palo Santo, I've got a lighter, I'll do this. And I will go around and the whole space, and then usually also myself, because I'm coming in from who knows what and what kind of mood I'm in today. I may be the source of the contamination of the space, so I want to make sure I get myself as well. So that's a little bit about why you might want to have, sacred space set up. And then also why you want to close it down at the end so you can go on with sort of more normal everyday activities. All of this factors in to states of consciousness. When you go into ceremony and you create sacred space, you're also altering your own consciousness. You're telling yourself via ceremony, via these actions, that I am getting ready to operate outside of the normal world, the normal everyday. I'm preparing myself, my body, my mind, my spirit to operate in a more transcendent way. And this becomes very important because different states of consciousness have different effects. You've probably heard of flow state via athletes, or also artists, creative folks, anyone who gets into a working rhythm and things just flow. The flow of time alters a bit. Another example of this is different brainwave states. For instance, like the delta wave state is very healing for the body. That's one. We have delta sleep. That's our deep slumber. It's our dreamless state. And that's where a lot of hormones are released in the body and it creates healing and repair in the body. So, entering into these different spaces may activate different brainwave states, different states of consciousness, all of those things. So that is really important. So state-dependent action and outcomes. All right, so I hope that is perfectly not clear. Well, I hope it gives you questions, which, if you do have questions, put them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. Right now we're going to move on to the next portion of this video, which is about, okay, we've talked about sacred space, what it is, why we would want to have it established. So how do we do that? Well, there are a lot of different ways to do that. When I came in today, as I said, I smudged the space. That's not exactly opening for me, that's more me clearing the space before I open. And then I went and I took my drum and I drummed in all the 4 directions and I called in like the different guardians of those directions, the different powers associated with those directions, and then also the below, the earth, the sky above, and then the sacred within. And that is generally how I do it. Now sometimes if I'm in a hurry or I'm in a place where I need to be a little more surreptitious, I may just shake or rattle above, below, and within. Now the trick is you have to do it and mean it, and be in feeling with it and in congruence with it. It's not just like, okay, I've done this, let's go. No, you really want to have strong intentionality. And like I said, there's different ways you can do it. And if it's easier if you stick with one way, I will say that, because that way it sort of forms a groove in your consciousness. Like, oh, we're doing this now, that means that we're getting ready to do work. We're getting ready to set the space. But you can do it in multiple ways, and it's good to be adaptable. But when you start, it's best if you start and choose a way. So you can address the directions. I start in the south because of one of the traditions I trained in is that healing is associated with the south, and most of my work is healing work. So I generally start in the south. And then I go to the west, north, east, then below, above, within. So you can do that. You can just speak, call in, you can rattle, you can drum, you could blow a whistle, ring a bell. I knew somebody who used to just use a singing bowl and they would tap the singing bowl and they would follow that sound out. And, imagining that blanketing the space as it moved outward in all directions and creating that sacred space. For some people, they just light a candle and that's their symbol. I have candles lit on my altar behind me. That's part of my ritual as well. As I light the candles, then I address the directions. But you could just, take, a white candle. It doesn't have to be white. It could be any color as long as it makes sense for you. The white candles are fairly easy to come by. They can be tea lights. And you light that and sort of, saying, hey, within the sphere that this light is seen, this space is now sacred. Some people will light a candle, they'll say it, or they'll just say a prayer to invoke around them the space. And that's all valid. So it really is a matter of taste. So I'm not telling you to do it one way or another. If you are of a particular spiritual tradition and you resonate with that, do it the way that your tradition says to do it. If you don't have a preference, or if you want to try different things, experiment a little bit and see what works for you. I really like using the 4 directions. There's so many correspondences with that. You've got, the Western elements, fire, water, earth, and air. You've got, if you want to go ceremonial tradition or Judeo-Christian, you can go the archangels of the quarters. So like in the east there's Raphael, in the south there's Michael, in the west Gabriel, and the north Uriel. So there are all sorts of correspondences. In the South American tradition, which I've learned a lot from, they have animal guardians in each of the directions. So the south is the serpent, what they call the Sashimama. In the west, you have the jaguar, or Tarango. In the north, you've got Siwa Kente, the hummingbird. In the east, you have eagle or condor, Apuchin. And then, the earth mother, the sky above, and the creator. And then, that which is sacred within ourselves. So that's generally how I do it. I'd be interested also to see if some of you do have a special way that you bring in sacred space that's really simple and effective. You could also just sit in silence and intend that the space that you are in and working in is sacred. If you've got a really clear and focused mind, that can work. You just declare that it's sacred. There's, when I'm working in a familiar space or setting, where I have, sort of more of a pull over the energies of the space than others, I may simply just open. And that works for me too. Like if I'm so a lot of times I work from, if I have some short evening appointments, rather than for a 10-minute session run back to the office after dinner, I'll just, get on my phone, have my bedroom set up, and kind of just open, be in the space, close it down. Which brings me to the next point of this video, which I understand is getting quite long, but that's okay, it's informational. When you are done doing what the work you've set out to do is, whether that's healing work, divination, prayer, ceremony, offerings, whatever it is, once you have finished, you need to close the space. Now, I usually do that in order of operations. I reverse, so I start in the south and I ended in the east, and then I will start in the east and work my way back to the north, to the west, to the south, below, above, within, and thank all those that have participated and release the space. It is very important to release the space when you are done working. And the reason for that is when we create this bubble, everything that we put into this bubble is magnified and concentrated. So if we're slipping back into our normal everyday, we don't want to magnify everything. And that also brings up the point that while you're in sacred space, to be mindful of what you're bringing into that space, what you're bringing forward to, manifest. And it's fine to joke, it's fine to, be all that, but we also want to be respectful of the space that we're working in. And, it's kind of like coming into someone's, house, and, we've got muddy boots on, and we just track it all over the house. No, we don't want to do that. So we want to take that at the door, take them off, leave them at the door, and go in and be respectful of their space. Same thing when we create sacred space. We just want to be a little bit respectful. And again, there's still room for humor and lightness and irreverence in the sacred. But you do want to be careful about what you're bringing in. So keep that in mind. I hope this has been informative to you. If you'd like more clarity on, like, I want to go through step by step, your method, Mr. Moon Eagle, on, opening sacred space, let me know that. But I think this gives you just sort of a framework that you can go to, and, the importance of sacred space, the importance of setting it up, respecting it, and then bringing it, taking it down when you're done. So choose a method. Maybe you're going to honor the directions, maybe the elements. Maybe you're going to call in different angelic presences or divine beings. Maybe you're just going to light a candle and declare that all the space around you that the light touches is sacred. Whatever works for you is the right choice. Until next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you want to help support the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video. If you'd like to support my work, there are links to my website down below where you can book sessions with me or simply leave a PayPal donation. You can also join my Patreon community for extra perks like weekly prayer ceremonies and monthly group healing events. If you can't afford to do that, you can always just show your support by simply liking the video, leaving a comment, and sharing it on social media. Until next time, peace and blessings.